Hello my friends, I am the Synodic Scribe, your acquirer of all things lore, and I'm here to discuss the brand new jobs being added to Final Fantasy XIV. I hope everyone who's had the chance to watch or participate in the Japanese FanFest were satisfied with all the new exciting developments and reveals that we were given this brand new year of 2024. Some of these developments made people very curious, while other reveals left people confused. Don't worry, we'll get to talk about those in due time. However, today we're going to dedicate our time to the 3 new jobs and what their addition to the world of Final Fantasy XIV not only means to us as players, but to the world building itself. But before I get started, I do want to admit that this is entirely new territory. I don't have books and pages of lore to go off of here. All I have are some FanFest notes and what I know of about the world of Final Fantasy XIV. So let's explore this new avenue together, shall we? So, without further ado, let's get started with the first reveal, Viper. For the lore of Viper, it is described as a close-range fighting style that's passed down by the Hunters of Tural. With a description like that, what immediately springs to my mind are classes like Rangers from Dungeons & Dragons. Look at Drizzt for further examination. But what does it mean to be a Hunter of Tural? Well, I don't know, and we probably won't know until the game actually gives us the job. But what we can deduce is that the Hunters most likely use their weapon to adjust themselves to various combat styles. For example, a blade in each hand would allow them to deliver swift yet shallow slashes, along with piercing and surgical thrusts, meaning that they would be able to deal with a wide variety of monsters and opponents out in the wilds. However, with the 2 blades being able to be joined, creating sort of a polearm type weapon, not only does it have more weight, which means more momentum, but the added length of the hilt means more reach. So, by weaving themselves in and out of using the twin blade or dual swords, they are more or less keeping their opponents on their toes, never knowing what weapon type is going to be coming after them until it's already about to make landfall. But that's all about the lore and the weapon. What about the abilities of a Viper? The abilities are described as memories being drawn upon from the soul crystal a Viper has, imbuing their body with additional powers for a brief time. And if I'm being completely honest, this concept isn't exactly new. In fact, we have multiple jobs that make use of a trance-like state in order to empower themselves temporarily. Warrior, Dragoon, and Summoner are just a few examples of jobs that are able to enter a trance-like state and make use of unique spells and abilities for a short amount of time. Warrior enters a trance because of their battle rage, Dragoon enters a trance because of their dragon affiliation, and of course, Summoner has things like Dreadworm Trance, which stimulates their body with the Primal's power and grants them temporary access to powerful spells and abilities for a short time. So the idea of a job entering a trance is nothing new. What we should be asking ourselves is what kind of trance or what sort of unique abilities and actions does the Viper get while in this state? Will it be more of what we've already seen, or will it reveal more about what a trance-like state can do for your body in the world of Final Fantasy XIV? All I know for certain is that I will be among one of the first people to pick up this job when it releases. I have a huge love for the Twin Blade as a weapon, and Final Fantasy XIV's inclusion of it, I hope, does it justice. Moving on, we have the Pictomancer. I know, some people, or I should say a lot of people, were expecting Green Mage, but more than a few people were also suggesting Pictomancer as well, so can't really say that we didn't see this coming. As far as the lore of the job is concerned, I don't think the FanFest ever elaborated on where the job came from or its history. Anyone in the comments, let me know if they did, and timestamp it for me, because I'm trying to think and I can't remember for the life of me. I don't think it was ever brought up. And if it wasn't brought up and it has no history, well, this might be another job similar to Machinist and Blue Mage, where we're getting a fresh soul crystal, something that has never been seen before in the world of Final Fantasy XIV. But then that begs the question, what is Pictomancer bringing to the table that is unique compared to other casters? And the answer to that question is very simple: versatility. As far as the lore is concerned, Pictomancer isn't going to be a powerhouse when compared to other casters. Jobs like Black Mage, for example, have already been firmly established in the lore as being the strongest when it comes to raw, etheric power and devastating offensive spells in the Final Fantasy XIV universe. Black Mage is not to be trifled with when it comes to offensive magic, and Pictomancer has no chance of dethroning it without some massive retcons. So if you're hoping this job has lore akin to overwhelming power, you're likely going to be disappointed. But what it lacks in raw power, I believe that Pictomancer will make up greatly in versatility. Pictomancer is described as mixing ether and bringing what it creates into reality. If the idea of manifesting one's imagination into reality sounds familiar, well, it should. But again, just like Viper, this isn't the first time we've seen a job make use of the ability to create things with their ether. Red Mage is able to manifest and send off etheric blades to strike their enemies. Scholar is able to manifest barriers and shields seemingly out of thin air, and so on and so forth. But what Pictomancer is bringing to the table is the idea that it will be able to counter just about anything. But what do I mean by that? Well, the idea is that what Pictomancer lacks in raw power, it makes up for in the ability to mold itself to any given situation. Let's say a Pictomancer is fighting a creature that is weak against water. Well, there's nothing stopping a Pictomancer from drawing and manifesting water. Likewise, let's say there's an enemy making use of the terrain and using that to their advantage. Well, there's nothing stopping the Pictomancer from drawing additions to the terrain that remove that advantage. And of course, so on and so forth. Now, Final Fantasy XIV is not a game that makes use of elemental weaknesses or strengths, but you get the idea. From a lore point of view, Pictomancer could in fact be a perfect counter to just about anything, or a perfect counter to more things than other jobs are able to do. In fact, that's how I imagine Kryle's use of Pictomancy is going to be added to the lore. By her own confession, she was never too good at offensive magics. But if Pictomancy allows her to adjust her ether to whatever thing she needs at any given situation, that weakness is now turned into a strength. So my friends, if creativity is the name of the game for you, then you may want to pick up Pictomancy in the future, as they likely have access to spells and abilities that other jobs wish they could, as the wealth of elements they can draw upon, creatures they can conjure, or terrains they can adjust are pretty much limitless. It's all a question of can your imagination bring it into reality. And of course, lastly, we have the reveal of the new limited job, Beastmaster. And I'm going to be honest, this is going to be 100% theory crafting territory, my friends. We only have the name. We don't have anything else, no concept art, no weapon, no lore, no nothing. But I will provide to you the knowledge I do have so that you can draw your own conclusions in the end. So, what is Beastmaster? Beastmaster is a job that I believe originated in Final Fantasy V and has made speckled appearances ever since. It is a job that is able to not only tame and make use of monsters in your arsenal, but Beastmaster was also known for turning monsters on the enemy's team against one another. So not only are you taming and making use of your own creatures, you are encouraging creatures to betray their own loyalties, if that makes sense. What weapon would a job like this use? Well, Beastmasters were known for using a few weapons more than others. Daggers, axes, and whips. We already have daggers in the game. Daggers are used by rogues, which are used by ninjas. and two-handed axes are already used by warriors, which leaves only one. Whips. Whips have made no real appearance in the story or lore or weapon arsenal at all. In fact, if the job wants to remain as unique as possible, whips would be an easy pick. I certainly know that most people would want to see whips in Final Fantasy XIV on some level, and well, this may be your chance. Whip would be fun. A whip using ranged DPS. The one that keeps sticking in my mind is a whip using ranged DPS. That is all.
What kind of a sadist uses a whip?
Could be a fetish.
But in what places in Final Fantasy XIV has Beastmaster appeared already? Well, there are a couple places actually. The earliest records or nods to Beastmaster actually go all the way back to 2.0, ARR, suggesting that there were Beastmasters and Beast Tamers in Thavnair. But of course, most of this was only speculative and was never elaborated on in the future. Or I should say, it was not elaborated on until the Bozjan Southern Front. For those of you who never did the Bozjan resistance quests, you actually fight more than one type of Beastmaster within these quest chains. And beside them, of course, were monsters and creatures that were able to fight by their side or for them. So of course, we have two sources from which to draw the lore upon for Beastmaster. Number one is, of course, the characters we met in the Bozjan Southern Front, and where that tradition originated. And of course, number two, Thavnair. Or for all we know, there could be a brand new background or setting that the job is going to tap into that we just don't understand yet. Now, of course, the Beastmasters we saw in Bozja were using axes, so we might just get axes a second time, but to those of you hoping for whips, well, now's your chance. But then of course that begs the question, how does Beastmaster work, or how will it work? And I do have a theory on that one. Imagine for a moment a Beastmaster somehow being able to project their intent or their feelings upon their target by using their ether. Imagine being able to inform a small timid creature that you are no threat, that you are not going to harm or abuse them on your approach. But, likewise, you could also do the same to a more aggressive type of creature. Imagine projecting the feeling of domination, or the idea that if this creature attacks, you will fight back. Through this method, one could use their own ether to tame or control or suggest creatures to act and feel certain ways. The reason I say this is because we already have lore about jobs saying how they use their ether and powers to alter or temper the emotions of other creatures. Dark Knight, of course, is the biggest example. The spells created by their dark arts are known to infuse fear, anxiety, and panic within the targets affected by them, adjusting their emotional state. So imagine doing that, but with Beastmaster, to creatures, monsters, animals, you name it. But instead of just fear and anxiety, you may instill peace or authority. I guess it's up to you and the monster you're dealing with. But I believe that will be all from me for now. As always, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the Japanese Fan Fest for 2024 and are looking forward to all the new developments in Dawntrail just as much as I am. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below, and how about you toss some ideas towards me about how you think jobs like Beastmaster are going to work in the future. But, as always, after it's all said and done, have a nice day. And of course, stay safe, my friends. Thank you all for watching to the end. If you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe and share this with your fellow adventurers? With your help, I'll try to reach out even further and bring even greater stories to you. Although, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my biggest contributors. A grand thank you to Amina Viltaria, Slippers, Potato, Sage Mouse, Sinalv Bagel, Cizani, and Travon Shea, with an additional nod to the scholarships on screen. Links to things like my Twitter and that of my channel artist Caddy can be found in the description. Thank you all for your viewership as well as your support, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day. Class dismissed.